Welcome to The Next Chapter, a show about how to move your life forward and what comes next. I'm your host, Carey Pena. Hi, everyone. I'm Carey Pena, and this is The Next Chapter podcast. With me in studio today, Colin Egglesfield, actor and author of this book right here, Agile Artist, 90-Day Playbook, and so much more.
Yes.
Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Carey.
Your story is so fascinating. So you've had a really good career in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
You've also had, like we all do, a lot of ups and downs. And you are now using your story and what you've learned to teach people about how to have a mindset shift. Mm-hmm. So for folks who don't recognize you, just talk a little bit about your acting career. I heard you sort of stumbled into it. You took a class and lo and behold, you made it.
Yeah, acting was never on the radar for me. Growing up, I was an introvert, was that kid in school that liked to hide. My voice didn't change till I was like 26 years old. So I would just always get nervous standing up in front of people for, I think, some reason. I think it's called glossophobia is the term for the fear of public speaking. And a lot of introverts, I've discovered, a lot of actors are introverts, have this self-awareness. And in some ways, it can prevent us from being able to go out there in the world and fulfill and pursue our dreams and our goals. And once I jumped into this acting class when I was in New York City, it was the first time that I actually felt like there were some tools and some strategies to actually overcome this fear. And so that's what I was really drawn to acting at first. It wasn't necessarily thinking that I was going to be the next Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt, but it was the first time that I actually was able to learn how to authentically connect with another human being. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't a big reader growing up, so I didn't have a huge vocabulary or, an expansive knowledge of communication or whatever. But what is great about acting is the words are right there on the page. So the words are right there. And once you start to understand how to analyze these words, break down a character, do some character analysis, find out what your objective is for the scene. It really helped me in my personal life, my communication with family, friends, relationships. And this is why I took all of this knowledge and have turned it into these classes, which are essentially communications, sort of acting, improv classes for non-actors to improve communication.
I love how you are inspiring people to go after their dreams. And we're going to dig into this a little bit more. But you mentioned Tom Cruise. You do sort of look like Tom Cruise, by the way. Just throwing that in there. I don't know.
Show me the money.
So talk a little bit about your career in Hollywood, because you started landing roles and you had a good string of success.
Yeah. And, I was planning on going to medical school. And I think part of what I write about in my book, Agile Artist, was that I think sometimes we get miscast in the role of our life, not realizing that that's not the role we're supposed to be playing, based on just where you were born, where, who your parents were, or school or society dictates, or you feel like this is what you should be doing. And growing up in the Midwest, had a great upbringing. Parents were amazing. But I just kind of went along with what you were supposed to do, which was go to school, go to college, get a job. And for me, I like the idea of having a positive impact on people's lives. So the idea of becoming a doctor was very appealing to me. My dad was a doctor, obstetrician, gynecologist. He let me come in and watch him deliver a baby one time. And I was like, yep, I'm not doing that. But the idea of actually going to medical school for the next 4 years, then a possible internship. At 20 years old, I think we put a lot of pressure on kids to make a decision about what they're going to do for the rest of their life. And for me, I was having this anxiety about, is this really what I want to be doing? I didn't even know who I really was at 20 years old. And so I think that's where I started to really put it out there that I wanted to just explore and see what was out there in the world. And lo and behold, I heard on the radio about this model talent search when I was at the University of Iowa. And so some random Tuesday night, I went to the Davenport Holiday Inn and got hooked up with these model agents. And before you knew it, graduated, was in Milan, Italy, doing runway shows for Giorgio Armani and Versace. And you look a lot like Donatella Versace, I have to say, Carey.
Oh,
I think she'd be very
you're just
proud
trying
of
to
what
pay
you're
me back
wearing
for
right
my
now.
Tom Cruise comments.
And so that led to me going to New York City, and I started to go on some of these auditions. I was doing the Calvin Klein underwear box for like 6 years. So I was really in that world for a while. And I was like, oh, this is cool. This will last probably a couple of years, and then I'll go to medical school. But then they started sending me on these commercial auditions that required no acting whatsoever, like driving a car. I booked a Pontiac car commercial and like Gillette, where you're just in front of the mirror shaving, but no acting required. So I started booking some of these commercials, and my agent was like, you seem to have a knack for this. Have you ever thought about doing theatrical, TV and film? And I was like, hell no, I'm way too scared of getting up in front of audiences. And my acting teacher said, or my agent said, why don't you just take an acting class and see what it's all about, see if you like it. And I think this is the thing where sometimes we have these doors open up in our life, and we either can walk through that door, or we, a lot of the times, are our own worst enemy when it comes to preventing ourselves from walking through those doors to explore these opportunities for fear of failure, for fear of what other people are going to think about us. But I was in New York City. I was 24 years old. I kind of felt like, well, what have I got to lose? So I jumped into this acting class, and they make you do all kinds of crazy things. But what it does is it gets you out of your head.
Yeah.
And what I've realized, and what is the most effective thing for communication, whether you're an actor or a non-actor, is heart-centered communication, where you connect with another individual from your heart center, from connected to your soul purpose. And this is what I write about in my book, Agile Artist. And I now have this follow-up 90-day playbook, which is coming out this week. And that is a 90-day planner, which actually helps you identify your biggest, most ambitious dream goals. And in 90 days, have a plan in place to actually start either making it happen, or at least getting started on making it happen, and overcoming some of the mental mind blocks that prevent us from even getting started.
You're moving people to action.
Yes.
Why did you want to write this book? Why was it important for you?
I feel like, when you get to a certain place in your life after having these amazing experiences, I've had a lot of great acting teachers and coaches help support me on my dream of becoming a professional actor, and supporting me in fulfilling on some of the craziest things that, I mean, to be on a major motion picture opposite Kate Hudson and making out with her and doing movies with Sylvester Stallone, Gary Oldman. I mean, this is like crazy stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you really think about it, the idea of going out and being the next Elon Musk or Bill Gates or having these ambitions, a lot of people have ideas about what they want to do, but internally, the predominant thought that most people have is, I'm not good enough. Mm-hmm. And that's the very thought that I had when I first started going out on these auditions, where I had the proficiency of acting. I knew how to break down a scene. I knew how to do character analysis. And I was getting into these big rooms at Warner Brothers Studios and CBS Studios.
It could be so intimidating.
The final audition after 7 auditions, and there's like 2 or 3 other guys, and you're signing these contracts where you're going to be making, this amount of money for the next 7 years. And then you got to go into the room and just throw that all away and just be present mm-hmm. and connect and inspire that room and bring this energy to the room that allows people to feel that you are the guy, that these millions of dollars is going to be safely on the shoulders of this person.
Yeah.
And in those first few instances, I would just sort of crumble. I'd be like, I can't even believe I'm in here. I'm lucky to just be here.
That's Kate Hudson.
That's Kate Hudson. And it just got to a point where I was frustrated not getting the role. And so one of my friends introduced me to this woman named Wendy Spiller. And she was the first person who taught me about the law of attraction, manifestation. And at first I thought this is kind of like hocus pocus, whatever. But really, this has been practiced for hundreds of years. Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, you name it, all the best, most successful, like even Nikola Tesla talks about manifestation, and the power of our minds is infinite. And this is really the game-changing part of my career, where once I started to do some vision boarding, and she had me do something really powerful, which I have people do in my 6-week Inspire class, which is write your Academy Award-winning speech. 20 years from now, looking back to where you are right now as if you had already accomplished all of your dreams and your goals.
I love that.
And that's the biggest reason why I was able to book Something Borrowed. And this is what I talk about in my book, and I talk about in my keynote speeches. And I feel like, in answer to your question, a lot of the things that we are like lucky enough or fortunate enough to be able to experience. My acting teacher asked me to come back and speak to some of the students in the class. And it was just really amazing to see, you just see in people's eyes so much aspiration, and you can just see their dreams like just right there. And if you can be that conduit to help someone get to where they want to go, to me, I think that's one of the most fulfilling things that you could possibly do.
Or at least see that they're trying.
Yeah.
Just know that you tried.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about your health journey, because I'm assuming that this has also informed your mindset.
Mm-hmm.
You have fought cancer twice, beat cancer twice. Talk a little bit about that.
So when my first acting teacher said, it's going to take you 10 years to be a working actor. It's going to take you 20 years to be a good working actor. And if you're not willing to put in the time and the dedication and commitment, there's the door. And so I was like, all right, I think this is worth exploring. It was the first time I felt like connected to something that really inspired me. And you got to be connected to something that really lights you up and inspires you, as the name of your media company is as well. And what I realized after going through my acting journey of pounding the pavement and going over 2,000 auditions in my career and only having essentially a 2% success rate, I started to realize that the only thing that's going to keep you going is your connection to what you believe is possible, and with a firm commitment that it is already happening right here, right now, and that the forces of Source, God, the universe, are in your favor in making it all happen. And so 8 years into my journey, I booked a role, my first contract role on All My Children, the soap opera, where I played Erica Kane's Susan Lucci.
Oh, she's the best.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
So I played her transplanted, unaborted fetus son. Okay. So try to figure that one out. And so for 3 years, I was like, oh my God, it's happening. It took me 8 years. My acting teacher told me it was going to take 10, and I'm there. And 6 months into my 3-year contract, it was like I was 32 years old. I was back in New York City, and I was like just loving life. And I got this diagnosis of testicular cancer. Mm-hmm. And so it was like the best time of my life and the worst time of my life all at the same time. But what got me through it was, like I said, the commitment and the idea of having a goal and getting so connected to what that goal is. And for me, during that journey, it was being supremely healthy, so that when I would go to my doctor's appointments, I had surgery, radiation treatment, had to go for my checkups every 3 months. On the third checkup, a year later, came back. They discovered cancer on the other side. So I'd have another surgery.
Yeah.
And what got me through it was, in my calendar, I would write in, every time I would have to go to these doctor appointments, I would write good health appointment. So I was planting the seed that I was healthy, that I was all good. And a lot of our material reality manifestation has to do with that seed of a thought of who we are, what our self-identity is, and what we are going to create, regardless of what the outside world or what evidence we see for ourselves. And there was a publicist I worked with. His name was Michael Levine. He wrote 19 books on publicity. He was Michael Jackson's publicist, David Bowie's, Prince's. And he said, in order to be successful, because he worked with thousands of super successful people, or mediocre successful people, and then there was the elite successful people like the Michael Jacksons and the Barbra Streisands. And he said, the talent level is the same with these people. He's like, I've worked with so many different people. He said, the difference between the people that are super successful and the ones that are just kind of mediocre trafficking and kind of the nightclub scene is that a super successful person, first off, is incredibly they're obsessive about accomplishing what they have set out to do. So much so that they would be willing to first ask you to move, then they will tell you to move, then they will knock your ass down. And then the second component is that they are hyper optimistic, knowing that the game isn't easy, but it is winnable. So you got to know the game you are playing. In the game of baseball, Major League All-Star baseball players fail 70% of the time. They are making millions of dollars and being successful 3 out of 10 times. The game of acting, it's successful 2 out of 100 times. So 2% success rate. So just know the game that you are playing. The other one is obligation. Super successful people, their word is rock. It is stone. When they say they're going to do something, they're going to do it and they're going to make it happen come hell or high water. And just incorporating some of these principles and what I learned is what I write about in my book. And just being around some of these people, some of these A-list actors and producers and directors really helped elevate my outlook on life and helped me go from that place of middling actor, kind of middle of the road, up into this upper echelon of A-list. But it's hard to stay there.
Yeah.
And with the industry shifting and AI and Netflix and Amazon, the industry is going through this huge revolution of everyone's trying to figure it all out. And so people keep asking, well, Colin, what, are you still acting? Yeah, I just got to a point where I was tired of going into these rooms, hoping and praying someone would hire me for their dream. So I started to realize, this was 6 years ago, I was sitting in my place in LA, and I just looked around and I was like, you know what? I've accomplished what I set out to do. I've worked with all these amazing actors. I've gone to all the Oscar parties, the Cannes Film Festival, and I still felt like, you know what? Great. That goal has been accomplished. Now, as we evolve in life, we evolve up into these upper echelons of our self-identity, we get to the point where we want to create a legacy. And for me, I started to think about, what do I want the world to be impacted by 100 years after I'm gone? And that's one of the exercises I do in my Inspire course, is I have people write out their 100-year legacy. How have you impacted the world and made it a better place by you having been in it? And all of these things is the reason why I've written my books and do my coaching and help me get through my cancer battle, just by having those firm set goals of that I was going to get through this. And by assuming the character identity of what I teach in my Inspire class is taking on the role of your favorite superhero or a character in a movie. So I have you watch movies every week, and we relate the theme of the movie to your life. And one of my favorite movies is Gladiator. And so I just took on the role of Maximus every time I would show up to Sloan Kettering Hospital for my blood tests, chest x-rays, CAT scans, where I was like, all right, bring on the world. Where you start to create your self-identity every day. And that's what with my planner, every day you create and you establish your self-identity for that day, so that you are creating and being at the source of your life every day, instead of living your life in reaction to what life gives to you.
It strikes me so much of what you're saying is that you wanted to consciously make your life bigger than just you. I think that's where we find abundant happiness, is when we are not so self-focused. And in your industry, and in some cases in my industry, and you're on TV, people recognize you. So easy to get just all caught up in yourself.
Yeah.
And you, I think, have given yourself a beautiful gift of reaching out and taking your knowledge and wanting to spread that with others. There's a gentleman in the studio, and I haven't asked for his permission, so I won't say his name, but he's here, and he told me that he took your course and that he was having suicidal ideations and that you helped save him. He just told me that before we recorded. So you're doing some real deep level work. How does that feel?
It's incredibly fulfilling. It's exciting to walk on a red carpet and do all these movies and travel the world. But ultimately, at the end of the day, like I was talking about, our legacy and really getting connected to what our purpose is in life on a deep soul level. And that gentleman, actually, I've become really good friends with him. And, I think we can learn something from everyone that we meet in our lives. So as much as I've been able to help him and support him on his journey. He's now supporting me and continuing to support the community that I've created on this journey. I don't claim to be a guru or the expert. All I'm trying to do is share my knowledge and my experiences and bring a community together where we can all learn from each other, because you're only as strong as the people you surround yourself
That's
with.
right.
And no matter where you were born, who your parents were, or your family is, you can always choose to decide who you hang around with. And I just got to a place where I needed to surround myself with more supportive and spiritually minded people. And since I've been focusing more on that, man, I'm telling you, the most amazing people have been showing up in my life, and we all rise together.
That's right.
Through all of these experiences.
What is your next chapter?
So my next chapter is I'm now starting to produce and write my own film and TV projects. I am continuing with my Agile Artist community and creating these retreats. Just did my second retreat here in Scottsdale, where we come together, and I have some amazing guest speakers. Nicole Maiden, who's my PR agent.
Yeah, she's
beautiful
awesome.
person.
Yeah.
Who you had on your podcast.
Yeah.
She's been amazing at connecting me with amazing people like yourself. And this is the power of when you just go out there into the world and focus on your dream and being of service. Amazing people show up to help support you along that way, even if you don't know what that next chapter is in your life. When you connect with yourself, instead of trying to look outward for the validation or for the answers, all the answers are within ourselves. We just have to slow down long enough to allow Source and our soul to speak to us, and then it's up to us to really take the action and make it all happen. So I'm continuing to do my courses, my Inspire course. My next iteration of it is going to be starting the end of July. So if anyone is interested in that, they can go to my website, colinegglesfield.com. I'm on Instagram at Colin Egglesfield. And just continuing to, I've got my own podcast, which I'd love to have you on.
Yeah, I love it.
It's called Coffee with Colin.
Oh, cool. Good name.
Yeah, thank you. So just, continuing to just seek out amazing opportunities and continue to fulfill on my dreams.
Congratulations on everything. I'm so glad that your health is doing well.
Doing well. I've got some, health issues along the way that I'm still, contending with, but again, just having a positive mindset and surrounding myself with really good health practitioners. I've started working with these integrative health practitioners, where I would advise anyone who's, just dealing with any sort of health issues. Like I'm telling you, there's a reason why our bodies are breaking down. Mm-hmm. A lot of it has to do with the food that we consume, the products that we put onto our bodies. There's so many chemicals that are in products in America that are banned in Europe. And I would just say, for everyone out there to do just a little more due diligence about what you're putting into your bodies and onto your bodies. And, I know it may sound, I don't want to sound too, preachy here, but, we only got one body, for the rest of our lives. And I think we take it for granted that our bodies have the amazing ability to help us fulfill on our dreams and our goals. But if we don't have the energy and we don't take care of it, much like a car, I think people pay more attention to maintaining their car than they do their bodies.
Yeah.
And you can see with a car, if you don't maintain the car, it's going to break down.
Yeah.
And sometimes we feel like we're just going to be able to run forever. And sometimes when we have these health scares, it's our bodies trying to tell us something.
Yeah.
And really, you got to just sit down and just really tune in and be like, what is my body trying to tell me right now?
Yes.
And with cancer, one of the doctors that I've been working with says that cancer, there's a lot of different forms of cancer. And they're saying that cancer is almost like it's a cellular irregularity with the metabolism and the mitochondria of a cell. And if you look at like diabetes and some of these other diseases, they're saying that cancer is essentially like a diabetes type of dis-ease in the body, where by by supporting your body and having normal cellular function and giving your body what it needs, your body can repair itself from a whole host of a lot of things. And most of the diseases in our body is caused from inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
And just by reducing the inflammatory foods that we are putting into our bodies and onto our bodies, we're giving ourselves, a fighting chance of living long and healthy lives with the kind of energy and outlook and our mood and all these anxiety and stress is through the roof in this country.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, a lot of it has to do with the foods that we eat and our gut biome. So that's the kind of stuff that I've been really interested in lately.
I hope you continue to talk about that. I think it's really important. And that also goes to our mental health, everything you're saying. Colin, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me,
So
Carey.
great to have you in the pink chairs.
I love the pink chairs.
And thanks to all of you for watching and listening. This is the Next Chapter podcast. I'm Carey Pena.